5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Welcome to the GHT Overland Podcast, where we visit with overland travelers and explorers around the globe, learning from their experiences and enjoying their stories. I'm Chris.
And I'm Lisa. We're from a little city called Washougal in Washington State, known as the entrance to the Columbia River Gorge. Today's featured guest is Bernd with Bodensee Overlander. He and his wife Claudia are from Germany. After completing their first overland trip from Germany into India, then through Iran, Turkmenistan, and Pakistan, they shipped their Land Rover from Mumbai to Halifax, Canada. They're now getting ready to overland through the Americas.
And I don't know if we got those in the right order, but that's what I got written down. So without further ado, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, how are you guys?
We're doing great. So we are so inspired by your tenacity in tackling an overland trip like this. Tell us a little bit about you and your background and how this adventure began.
All right, so it basically began with almost getting a burnout. I'm a project manager in the IT industry, and was working hard and every day, like 7 days a week. And I suddenly said, okay, I need to stop this. Let's do something else. Let's do a world trip. And my wife was in. That was when we thought to start with a backpack. Yeah, and a couple of months later, she gave me a book where there was a description of a guy who traveled in a 70 in the 70s with a VW van just through Africa. They just packed everything with food and just drove on. And I kind of liked that idea. And 3 weeks later, we had a Land Rover Defender in front of our house.
That's great. And then once you decided to tackle this adventure, how long was it before you guys hit the road?
We bought the car three years before we hit the road because we needed to save money, and we also needed to prepare ourselves for this kind of adventure.
And did you build out the truck yourself, or was it most of it already done for you?
Like, it was a normal 9-seated Land Rover Defender. The only thing I bought and I didn't build by myself was the suspension and the pop-top roof. Everything else I built by myself.
Okay, very good. And it looks amazing and pretty rugged and probably full of personality and quirks. Tell me a little bit more about your vehicle.
It's a 20-year-old Land Rover Defender. I bought it because it has a special engine called 300 TDI. It was the last one before all the electric things came in. We have a very special relationship. Like, the car broke already my finger while I tried to fix it. It is a trusty car anyhow, but because we never have a serious breakdown, it always is manageable. The name of the car is Calimero. There was a compromise because my wife wanted to buy a horse. The name of the horse was Calimero. But we ended up buying the car and named the car Calimero.
What are a few pieces of gear you found to be the most valuable as you completed your first trip from Germany to Mumbai, India? Okay,
our fridge is important. Like, everybody said, don't drive in summer into Iran. We did it. It was incredible hot, and without our fridge, I guess we would have drinking only tea for 4 weeks straight. So that was one of the most important gimmicks we had. In addition, I would say our camera equipment, just like, I couldn't go without. Everything else you can manage on the road.
How hot was it there?
How hot? In Celsius, 47 in the shadow, but without shadow in the middle of the desert.
Wow. Okay. Now, anything you originally packed that you never used or removed from your overall setup?
We have something what we're still not sure if we would have needed it. Like we have an awning, like the 270-degree awning, like called Foxwing.
Okay.
It's a cool thing if you drive from campsite to campsite. But like the trip we did, we opened it at 3 locations, to be honest.
Wow. Okay.
Because you always want to be able to move if somebody doesn't like you. You are there where you are. That's why we didn't use it too much. And the high lift, like we have this high lift tools for lifting up the car. Actually, that's also with us without a single use so far.
That'll be really interesting to see if you guys decide to keep those with you going through the Americas. Just knowing how much extra weight that adds to your overall setup.
It's always fun to hear about Overlanders' trips and stories or places that they really stood out for them. What are your current top 2 or 3 destinations that really stand out, along with a little detail on what made them so different?
Yeah, that's difficult. So like I can tell you, India is not part of it. Like that's what we've learned. India was not our country, but okay. Like all Central Asia is incredible. Like the green mountains of Kyrgyzstan with like the wild horses roaming around. Like in Tajikistan, the high desert on 4,000 meters plus. Pakistan's people are so friendly, especially in the north, and that in combination with the great mountain scenery and the wilderness, incredible. So like that's it for Central Asia, but also countries like Greece and Turkey are usually known for us as typical tourist destination for Germans. But if you don't hit the coastline, just drive a little bit further inland. Incredible countries.
Yeah, I think I'd like to go to Greece.
Yeah, definitely worth a visit.
On your first leg of your trip, do you have any idea like how many miles you've driven?
It was 30,200 kilometers. I have no idea in miles.
Kilometers, yeah. And how long was that first leg of your trip?
It took us 10 months. 10 months. We had now 1 month of like home holiday, which is month number 11, and now we're in Halifax, and we have our anniversary on 27th of March.
And how was that transition when you went from Mumbai to Halifax?
It's different.
Yeah.
Like you can walk along the street without anybody wants to kill us with a car. Especially here in Halifax, they stop 3 meters before you when you try to cross the street. That's very, very different. It's clean, but the people are not so like open. Like they don't see you and say, "Hey, welcome to my country," whatever, because we just look like them.
That's fascinating. So let's go to your kitchen. Tell us about your kitchen. What does your average meal setup look like?
That's depends on the countries we are visiting. Like on our way down to India, onto Turkey, we like searched a recipe in one of the books we have, cooked it, and that's good. But from there on, we just needed to cook with that what we could find, not with that what we would love to have. So it ended up a lot with spaghetti and tomato sauce, and any kind of vegetables mixed together in a pan with rice. That was what we cooked a lot on the trip. What we really love is a very good beef steak, barbecue. That's what we really like.
Nice. So what is a favorite recipe for you?
A great big steak, a salad next to it, and a beer. I
Very
can go
good.
with that.
Nice. Would you have a favorite beer?
Yeah, but not on the trip. Like German beers are still on top of the list.
Okay, very good. So on provisions, when you guys stop and get groceries or what have you, how do you plan your food, like your minimum supplies that you carry, and any tips for our listeners that you have in purchasing fresh meats and vegetables, and especially for smaller towns and villages that you've been through?
Like the easiest to get was vegetables. Like what we can say is if you find something which you could eat in the next days, just buy it. You will probably not find it again. Yeah. We usually have a minimum supply of noodles, rice, and like the basics, like potatoes, for example. They can have them for a long time. And also beans. And with that, like everything else just comes on top. If you find cool stuff, buy it and eat it. Yeah, it's like not too much planned for us. Like sometimes we have 2 or 3 weeks out in the wilderness. We just go to the grocery store and buy lots of things which hold longer. Canned food, potatoes, noodles. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, and some of those smaller villages you've been through, of course, I'm visioning maybe Pakistan or something, but you tell me any really fun stories you have in getting vegetables, especially maybe even meats?
Yeah, meat is kind of difficult sometimes because you can choose your chicken while it is alive, and then they prepare it for you. So it's fresh, so at least you know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's difficult to Europe or also Canada and the US, where you like just get the finished piece of meat at the butcher's place or in the supermarket. Yeah, what I liked very much is like no matter how much we put in the bag, sometimes it was always €1, like a worth of €1 roughly. So we could buy for 5 days food, and it was €1 of vegetables, or like, which is $1.20, I guess.
Okay, and what does that look like? So if you go, do you go into a shop or do you go to a farm? You pick out your chicken? How does that work?
No. Usually you just like see stands around at the street. When you drive into a small village, usually the street who leads into or out of the village has the car mechanics places, and then comes the food places. Sometimes there's a village only for meat, like the butcher's village. We had that in Iran a couple of times. You see that definitely with hanging cow heads in front of the stores or whatever. Yeah, but like shops, you don't find so much. Like on the trip we did. You can find them, especially in the bigger cities, but in the small villages, it's usually just outside. Okay,
very good. So you go by a shop, you see a cow head hanging there, and you know that they have beef?
Yes, that's it.
Very good. That is so wild. And then you go in. How do you choose whether it's going to be fresh and safe to eat?
Yeah, gut feeling.
Okay.
Like you look around, if you like it, you buy. If you don't like it, you don't buy.
You move on, okay.
Yeah. The best option is chicken and fresh chicken. Just like choose a live chicken and they prepare for you. That's the safest. If you want.
Yeah, because you know that it's like cut fresh right there. It hasn't been there with flies and all kinds of other stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
Chicken would be my choice.
Or a vegetarian. Like,
there you go.
Yeah, that's that was also a lot of our choice, not because we liked it, but because we had to.
Right. So, how do you do your laundry on the road?
All right. We have a waterproof ton on our roof rack, which is used for canoeing. We use it the other way around. We don't put our dry stuff in there. We put our laundry in there. Sometimes we drive with it a little bit, and that's okay. But sometimes we just let it in there for a while, let the sun shine on it so it gets warm, and then it's just handwork. If we have just smaller things to do, we have also, like from the company Ortlieb, these foldable buckets. To say so, we can also use that for laundry. But it's most of the times it's hand wash, and we love it if people offer us their laundry machine.
Yeah,
that happened, and we use that definitely.
Okay, and the foldable bucket, how do you spell the name of the manufacturer?
It's Ortlieb, Ortlieb. I don't know if they're in the US or Canada.
Gotcha. Okay. So then Hygiene, do you have a toilet and shower setup, or what is your best tips for overlanders like you when it comes to hygiene?
So we have a shower. It's a solar shower, but it's not the typical solar shower you can buy in an outdoor shop. It's a very robust one from the Swiss military. They use that to transport drinking water. And we have like just like a small system on it, like to get the water out into a hose and then out. So we just have that black sack of water on the top of our roof or like somewhere in the sun. And in the evening we put it like at least higher than you are, and then we can shower. There's no special solution. We also use just our towels and the doors to make our little space of privacy for us. When it comes to toilet, we don't have a real toilet with us, and we regret it. Especially if you're in areas where, like in Islamic countries, for example, where the woman should wear a headscarf, expect the woman to go to pee next to the road. That's difficult. But we have a small urine bag for the woman, for my wife.
Okay.
That's a lifesaver. And we have kind of foldable toilet seat things where you could put a bag in. But we never used it with a bag, just outside without the bag, because it's just more convenient.
Yeah, I can imagine. So any other setups that you've seen with other overlanders, maybe that you would prefer if you were to choose a different setup?
Yeah. From toilet-wise, there are toilets around, or like an easy system to separate the fluids from the not fluids things.
Okay.
And it's called Compost toilet, I guess. And that's a very good system where you don't use any chemicals. As you have, like the fluids, you can just pour wherever you go. Like just find a place where you can pour it. And the non-fluids you can like have there for 1 or 2 weeks. It doesn't smell because as it's separated, it doesn't smell. Usually only the ammoniac of the urine smelling. So that's a proper solution, I would say, for a trip like ours, because then you just can bury your compost without chemicals.
Okay. Very good. So tell us about your biggest challenge you've had to overcome on the road. Maybe you were stuck, or maybe it was a border crossing, or you faced a decision whether or not to turn around.
I guess the biggest challenge so far was to prepare our car for shipment to Canada. Because I don't know if you know, if you ship a car to North America, there might happen a foreign soil examination. And if they find foreign soil somewhere at your car, it could happen that they just close the doors and send it back to the port of origin, which would be Mumbai for us. So we cleaned for 7 days straight our car, and then needed to get it clean the 50 kilometers from the gas station in Mumbai where we cleaned to the port. I guess that was one of the biggest challenges so far. Other than that, like the border crossings, they're not smooth sometimes, but like you just need to be relaxed there. Prepare yourself a little bit, you should know what are the fees, the official fees, what are non-official fees, like bribes or whatever. And we never pay bribes. So that you should be aware of. And then border crossings are okay.
Okay, and the cleaning of the vehicle, how did you go through and do that? That's 7 days of cleaning.
That's a lot of cleaning. Imagine a car which was never cleaned. especially Land Rover, which saw a lot of mud already.
Yeah, which is 20 years old, right?
Yeah, it's everywhere. In addition, as we have also lots of salt on our roads in winter, we have a good wax cover of the under chassis. For that, you usually need a hot pressure cleaner, which we didn't have, which was not available in Mumbai. So we needed to scratch it off, like by hand. In the inside, like after 10 months living in this car, everything was dusty. That was my first car I built, so there are lots of spaces where it's not easy to clean. We just needed to get rid, to build out everything we built in, and clean everything by itself, and then also like the car with toothbrush sometimes, because the dust was everywhere.
And were you able to find a spot to be able to do that? Did you have rent a space or?
Yeah, kind of. There was one gas station in Mumbai. His owner, the owner is called Daniel, and he's our angel, I would say.
Okay.
We were really scared of coming to Mumbai because it's like one of the biggest cities in the world. And we knew, okay, he has a gas station. We can camp at the gas station in the middle of Mumbai. We did it, and it was really cool because it was the government area. So like in the night, it was really quiet. No people were roaming around. They had always a security guard at the gas station who also slept there. Like that was kind of their deal. And he helped us for the 7 days. Like we slept there for 7 days, and we also could use his labor and his pressure washer cold pressure washer. And like I would say there was 30 hours of work from his labor plus 7 days of camping at his site for $100 roughly.
Okay.
Yeah, so
that's great.
That's great. Yeah. Imagine that here, 40 hours of labor for $100.
Exactly. I can only imagine your relief when you took your vehicle to the port and it was accepted.
Yeah, the big issue comes now. Like it's accepted, that's fine. Like they don't have any issues with it in India. They could have issues here in Canada, which we will see in the next 4 days.
Oh, so that's going to be the bigger relief is when it gets there and you can actually get in it and drive it.
Actually, that's the bigger relief. Yeah, we're still getting all the information about like additional costs here, additional costs there, and like customs examination and blah blah blah. So the ship arrives tomorrow morning.
Well, our fingers are crossed for you.
Thank you.
So tell us about your process for planning each leg of your trip. Any particular software or processes you go through to minimize the need to reroute or turn around?
For driving to India, we just put down the countries you want to drive first, and started to investigate the rules in terms of visa and how long we can stay, how long in advance, how much time in advance we can get the visa, where we can get the visa, and all that. So we get like organize the tour like that. We realized quickly that we have a couple of fixed dates we have to provide at the beginning already. That was the crossing of China, because we did that with a tour agency with 9 other vehicles. And that should happen before the winter comes. So we did that in September. And we also knew for Turkmenistan, if you want to get the transit visa, you need to say at which specific date you will arrive, and then you get 3 days to drive through. And then I guess it was 27th of July. So we had these fixed dates. And then we started to build our visas and the trip around it. And usually we start planning what we do in the country, when we are in the country.
Okay.
So now here it's a little bit different. We plan, the next leg is now North America. So now my plan is, we will explore Nova Scotia, Newfoundland and Labrador, then drive down towards Montreal, Toronto, and then we'll see if we hit the States for a while to see the east coast of the States, or if we head to West Canada. So we'll see. And detailed planning is on a daily basis.
Gotcha.
And if you turn around, you turn around. Sometimes it just happens. No matter how much time you spend on maps and whatever, the reality is always a little bit different.
Okay, sounds good.
So any specific border crossings that stick out to you, and what those tips might be you have in preparing for them?
I guess in Central Asia, there is always a danger of corrupt officers. And what could happen there is, they ask you to open all doors, and then 5 or 6 officers search your car. And it could happen that one of these officers will put some drugs in your car and finds it afterwards again, which is a real big issue for yourself. So I started to lock all the doors and opened one door by the other with one of the officers, or maybe 2, but
that's really good advice. So locking the doors, going through it one officer at a time.
Yeah, one door by door, open the one, let him look there. Afterwards, close that door and then open the next one, because otherwise sometimes more than 5 officers are roaming around the car and trying to open things and trying to access things. And one put a ladder to my car to get on the roof rack and whatever. So you just need to have control of that. I guess the craziest border crossing for us was Turkmenistan, because the first thing we got was a state-owned GPS device, so they could track us wherever we are.
What?
As much as that surprised me, I guess at the same time, based on the location, maybe not. I'm still not sure. There's always a few extra challenges as overlanders you just can't predict.
Well, this episode of the GHT Overland Podcast with Bernd of Bodensee, Overlander is our longer format interview. So we split these into 2 episodes for your downloading pleasure. Don't worry, new episodes are released each Thursday. In the next episode, Bernd finishes telling us about being tracked by GPS, along with some helpful insight on mapping, communication, and maintaining a 20-year-old Land Rover Defender as you overland the world.
It's a good idea to visit the show notes page on our website at ghteoverland.com, click on podcasts, then select the Bodensee Overlander episode. All the details and helpful links in the episode are already there for you.
So be sure to send your feedback, along with any questions or suggestions, to ghteoverlandpodcast@gmail.com.
And be sure to check out the GHT Overland Alexa skill. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this. It's a weekly short format type skill. Did you know you can also say, Alexa, play the GHT Overland podcast?
Now, Before you race off, it would mean the world to us, and I mean the entire globe, if you'd share the podcast, subscribe, rate, and review. Give GHT Overland some love so we can reach as many Overlanders as possible, passing on priceless experience, knowledge, and stories of Overlanders doing good in the world. Thank you, and we will see you next Thursday over on part 2. What are you waiting for? Go give us some podcast love with a subscribe, rate, and review. Bye.